Iran's missiles are now turning Israel's economic lifelines into a war zone, hitting critical industrial hubs that once seemed far from the front line. Painful attacks to continue. Iran has vowed more strikes on Israeli and American-linked industries, warning that its retaliation will not stop until the aggressors feel real costs. From Yazd and Arak inside Iran to Neot Hovav in the Negev, the war has entered a new phase of industrial warfare. Israel burns as Iran hits back industry for industry, mirroring strikes on its own nuclear and heavy sites with blows against Israeli chemical and economic assets. Not just Israel, the Gulf is burning too, as Iran's revenge fury reaches US-linked facilities in Kuwait, where one worker was killed in a strike. Iran issued a sinister new threat just hours after its missile strike on a chemical factory in southern Israel, making clear that the attack was only a first warning shot. A senior Iranian commander said that retaliatory operations against the United States and Israel are already underway and are now intensifying with every new round of aggression. The commander of the IRGC's aerospace force made these remarks in an official statement released on March 29, outlining Tehran's evolving response strategy. Brigadier General Majid Musavi said Iran's reply to what he called the enemy's attacks is being delivered through precise strikes on carefully chosen economic and military targets. Musavi's statements were carried by Iranian outlets such as Press TV, which detailed the scope of Iran's ongoing retaliation across the region. Musavi's warning came at the same time as reports that both the United States and Israel are struggling with shortages of interceptor missiles under sustained attack. Israel is reportedly rationing its most advanced interceptor systems to prevent its air defense stockpiles from collapsing during what could become a long war. Majid Musavi said, and I quote, "Up to this moment, the chemical industries of the occupied territories, a refinery, 2 steel complexes, 2 aluminum supercomplexes were attacked, and these painful attacks will continue unless we see the pain in your eyes." An Israeli chemical factory in the Neot Hovav industrial zone was struck by an Iranian missile on March 29, in one of the clearest examples of Iran's shift to industrial targets. A huge fire broke out across the complex, which houses several chemical manufacturing facilities and other industrial plants clustered in the Negev. At least 34 firefighting crews were deployed to contain the blaze, and officials later said that no hazardous material leaks were detected at the scene. The damaged plant belongs to Adama, a chemicals company that is part of the Chinese-owned Syngenta Group, and it sits around 12 kilometers from the city of Beersheba. In Beersheba itself, at least 11 people were injured after an Iranian missile struck an open area near the city during the same wave of attacks. Local reports said those people were hurt by flying objects and debris thrown into the air by the missile shockwave rather than by a direct hit. Emergency service Magen David Adam also treated around 20 others suffering from acute anxiety, and they were all taken to Soroka Hospital for further care. In Kuwait, Iranian forces struck a power and water distillation facility linked to US interests, killing one worker in a related attack on Gulf-based infrastructure. Iranian officials say this wave of retaliation followed earlier IDF strikes on the Arak heavy water reactor and on a uranium-related site in the province of Yazd. The global atomic watchdog has confirmed that Iran's Khondab water plant sustained severe damage during those Israeli attacks. The agency added that Khondab contained no declared nuclear material at the time of the strike and that the facility is now no longer operational. At the same time, Iranian state media reported a separate American-Israel attack on a unit of the Tabriz petrochemical company in northwest Iran. Officials there said no toxic or polluting substances were released after the strike, and rescue teams quickly brought the situation under control. Earlier in the conflict, Israel had publicly boasted that it hit facilities linked to Iran's nuclear program and heavy industry, claiming major damage to production capacity.
A uranium enrichment facility, the only one of its kind in Iran, essentially the first link in the value chain of nuclear weapon production. Additionally, we attacked a heavy water plant in Arak, where the regime planned to produce material for nuclear weapon development. This is a facility we have already targeted in the past, but we observe that the regime is trying to restore it. We are continuously denying more and more capabilities that threaten Israel's security in Lebanon. The Northern Command forces, led by the command leader, are attacking and achieving numerous successes. IDF forces are maneuvering in southern Lebanon, and deepening the defense-based control of this area prevents direct fire on the settlements. To that end, we are currently taking action. Alongside these actions, we are constantly focusing on damaging rocket launching capabilities toward Israel. So far, we have eliminated more than 850 Hezbollah operatives. Today, we attacked and eliminated in Lebanon Ali Hassan Shoaib, an operative in the intelligence unit of the Radwan force. As our operation deepens, the forces encounter more threats and more terrorists. The fighters operate bravely, under complex conditions, risking their lives and succeeding in destroying the enemy and pushing them back. We will continue to deepen this activity in order to distance threats from our settlements. During fighting, there are prices, sometimes difficult and painful prices. Unfortunately, there are civilians who are being killed and injured as a result of Hezbollah and Iran. During the battles in southern Lebanon, fighters have fallen, and they are also wounded in battles. Their fighting and bravery will not be in vain. They fell defending the settlements and residents of the north. We will continue to strike and weaken Hezbollah. I'll start with the second question, if I may, to clarify. Since things have already been said in an inaccurate manner, it's important for me to clarify them here and now. First of all, the IDF is strong, attacking for 2.5 years now on multiple fronts, in Iran for the second time, in Lebanon, in Gaza. We are removing threats and attacking terrorists in Judea and Samaria and more. And we will continue to do this until the threats are removed over Israeli citizens. It is important to clarify this. The IDF is strong. As I mentioned to you earlier, we are acting according to a structured plan in full coordination with our American partners. An unprecedented and exceptional level of cooperation. There is no gap between us, it's important to say. Politicians say things. Things that occur at the political level happen at the political level. We, at the military level, are well coordinated with the American military. We have a structured plan, and we continue to act accordingly, achieving very good results. I say this as we previously presented the objectives, also at the leadership level, and there are more things we will be publishing in the coming days. You will see. Regarding the supposed American invasion of any kind, I said that we are well coordinated with the American military.
Trump, the President of the United States, has repeatedly threatened Iran with ground operations and the occupation of the remaining islands in the Persian Gulf. There is no doubt that the U.S. President, under pressure from the terrorist organization Mossad and because of his background in the Epstein case, has become a plaything in the hands of the Prime Minister of the Zionist regime in the war and aggression against Iran. The President of the United States, who has become known as the most lying president among the countries of the world and has no intellectual or discursive stability whatsoever, is in no way trustworthy. Unfortunately, the American leadership has granted command authority over the armed forces to someone who, due to his imbalance, stances, and dangerous and wrong decisions, has dragged the U.S. Army into the quagmire of death. Trump's commanders and soldiers who wrestle with death daily in the region have fled from the destroyed bases out of fear of being killed and taken refuge in service, civilian, and economic centers of the regional countries, where they are also being targeted. He and the senior commanders of the so-called American Army, from thousands of kilometers away from the battlefield, expect steadfastness from their commanders and soldiers on the front lines. Trump beats the drum of one issue loudly in the morning, only to retreat from it that same day. At one moment he speaks of negotiations, and hours later he decides to launch the war. This unbalanced and mendacious individual has inflicted enormous damage on the people of America, Europe, and the countries of the world, especially the countries of West Asia. The President of the United States has proven that the only language he understands is the language of force. In response to Trump's recent threats of ground operations or the occupation of any point or territory of Iran, which is nothing more than a dream, we declare, the warriors of Islam have long been awaiting such moves, so they can prove that aggression and occupation will have no result other than disgraceful captivity, dismemberment, and the disappearance of the aggressors, and that American commanders and soldiers will make good food for the sharks of the Persian Gulf. It would be better for Trump, the American leadership, and the commanders of the U.S. Army to study the history of Iran at least once and learn from how the valiant Iranians have dealt with aggressors throughout history, and not, under the influence of the unbalanced understanding of the American president, drive their soldiers into captivity and death, and plunge the American people into widespread mourning. The powerful armed forces of proud and honorable Iran are counting the moments, in case the U.S. president's threats, this embodiment of misunderstanding and lies, are carried out, to crush your army.